The anime begins with a man named Kakeru Satsuki, who remembers what happened 7 years ago when his older sister died. Since then, Kakeru has felt that his life is down, but he tries to live a normal life with his girlfriend, Yuka, and his friends at school. Yuka is adopted by a childless family, so she has a better life. Even so, they remain good friends. The next day, Kakeru invites Yuka to go to Ayana's by walking. On the way, suddenly, he has a headache, and she has stomach pain. After that, their vision turned red, the moon turned black, and everyone disappeared except for the two of them. Seeing this, they decided to return to Yuka's house, but when they got there was no one. Shortly after, Kakeru realized a shadow in front of Yuka's window. They immediately chased after the shadow. While outside the house, they saw that various monsters were chasing and about to catch them. At that time, they were already surrounded by monsters. But strangely, when they hugged each other out of fear, the atmosphere around them immediately returned to normal. The next day, Kakeru and Yuka went to school as usual. There is a new female student in their class named Shiori Momono, a transfer student from Italy. When break time, Shiori approached Yuka, but suddenly she fainted. Kakeru immediately carried Yuka to the school health room. At that place, they meet a male student named Takahisa. Not long after, a female health worker named Saiko Akamine checked Yuka's condition, and she found Yuka was anemic. Suddenly, Saiko asked about Kakeru's right eye being closed. He said his eyes had been like that since birth. After answering that, he leaves the school medical room. Yuka explained to Saiko that Kakeru's eyes are different colors and cannot be used to see. After school, Kakeru invites Yuka to go to Ayana's again. They both seem to be enjoying their time there. While resting in the garden, they saw a woman named Kukori Tachibana standing looking at them. Suddenly, their eyesight turned red again, just like yesterday. They were surrounded again by many monsters. Fortunately, a sword-wielding woman named Misuzu came to help them. After that, she told them to stay away from the group of monsters. Soon afterward, Kakeru and Yuka asked Misuzu what exactly had happened to them. She explained that there was someone who created the Red Knight world. Although they looked the same as the original world, they were actually in a different dimension. And the people in that dimension are only special people who have power. Suddenly, a crystal tower with 5 pillars appeared. Misuzu also explains that the tower is the center of the world, and she plans to go there. Actually, Kakeru wanted to follow Misuzu, but she instead told the two of them to hide because it would hinder her journey. Soon, they were confronted by the monsters but were successfully confronted by Misuzu using her magic sword. After the monsters died, she allowed the two of them to come with her to the tower. On the way, Kakeru felt pain in his eye. After that, a female monster named Superbia appears, saying she will not let them pass. Misuzu immediately fought against her, so the three of them managed to pass and arrive at the tower. Arriving there is a girl named Lisette, who is trapped in a crystal. She asked the three of them for help to free her. But Misuzu sensed Lisette was in her subconscious, so she made the night world red without noticing. After that, the monsters called Black Knights appeared, who was about to finish off Kakeru. Seeing that, Misuzu tried to attack the monster, but her power couldn't function in the tower. Afterward, she asked who they really were. They replied that if the fragments were to be destroyed, there was no need to know who they were. Suddenly, Superbia appeared and immediately attacked them. Luckily, Misuzu was able to withstand her attacks using her sword. Not long after, Kakeru, Yuka, and Misuzu returned to the real world, and the three of them were in public places. He asked if anyone other than the three had experienced the same thing. Misuzu replied that 3 others went to the same school and experienced similar things, but she only met one person. She promised to introduce them to that person. After that, Yuka and Kakeru left. On the way home, Kakeru and Yuka met their school friends who approached them. Soon after, they stopped at a cafe and met a female waitress, Yukiko. After they finished, he took Yuka back to her house. The next day when Kakeru and Yuka were in the library, he saw a flash of a woman's shadow while picking up a book. He ran after the shadow, but the woman had already disappeared. Turns out, she left a note on the floor that said it was Kakeru who had raised the devil. Not long after, Kakeru and Yuka meet Misuzu on the school roof, looking at the black sun. Misuzu felt that this was not a good sign. Kakeru feels that the Red Knight World incident was his fault and wants to fix it. At break time, Kakeru goes to Misuzu to ask to be trained in sword fighting. Kakeru, Yukiko, Yuka, and Misuzu were talking and joking in the classroom. Misuzu said that Yukiko was the one who also experienced the world of the Red Knight. And Yuka asked Yukiko what kind of power does she have. She replied that she was just an ordinary girl but had a scary temper. The 4 of them then talked about the world of the Red Knight. Yukiko said that on the first day of entering the world of Red Knight, she was saved by a man. After that, they decided to look for the man. Not long after, Takahisa entered the club room, and the man she was referring to was Takahisa. She invites him to join their sociology club, but he refuses. On the other hand, Kakeru practiced sword fighting with Misuzu. She tested his readiness in the middle of training by pretending to attack Yuka, who was watching. The next day, the club members went to school together. Suddenly, they were in the world of Red Knight, and Takahisa was fighting monsters. It is known that he has the power of pyrokinesis, which can control fire. Not long after, a monster appeared in front of them. Misuzu asked Yukiko to protect Kakeru and Yuka while she fought the monster alone. After bringing Kakeru and Yuka to a safe place, Yukiko prepares to help Misuzu with her weapons, namely 2 daggers. Her fighting ability turned out to be quite reliable. Suddenly, another monster came in a fierce battle and managed to stick a knife into Yukiko's body. Instantly she fell. Shortly after, Takahisa came to their aid with his firepower and made the 2 monsters retreat. After that, they returned to the real world. Despite being injured in the battle, Yukiko has now recovered. One of her strengths is that she will be eager to kill when her glasses are removed. Besides that, she is also difficult to die because the wound will soon recover every time she is injured. It is shown Kakeru is practicing swordsmanship at school. Suddenly, he gets news that Yuka is sick and being treated at the school's health unit. Afterward, he immediately headed there, surprised when he got there. It turned out that Takahisa was already accompanying her. Feeling bad, Takahisa then left. Saiko questioned whether Yuka hadn't slept in the past few days since her anemia had frequently relapsed. Soon after that, Saiko wanted to play a lullaby for Yuka, which she used to sing for her son, namely Takahisa, even though he was only her adopted son. Afterward, Saiko told how she first found Takahisa. At that time, she was a member of a motorcycle club. While driving, she saw little Takahisa stranded on the side of the road. Feeling sorry for him, she decided to take care of him. After leaving the school health unit, Kakeru and Yuka run into Misuzu. Misuzu informs that Kakeru's sword practice will be postponed because she will introduce someone she once told of meeting her on a red night. After school, Kakeru and Yuka join the other members of the sociology club. Unexpectedly, Takahisa was already there, who had just joined a few moments before. Not long after, Misuzu came with a woman named Tachibana Kukori. Kakeru was surprised because Kukori's name and face were similar to his siblings. They all got acquainted with Kukori, who turned out to be unable to speak, but could still hear well. To lighten the mood, Yukiko voiced a slogan from her country, for the sake of friends and tomorrow. The other members also liked the slogan, except for Takahisa. Shortly after, he left school on his motorbike. In the middle of the journey, Takahisa was surprised to see a red world boundary. On the other hand, Kakeru invites Misuzu to practice swordsmanship. And when they were about to start, they suddenly turned to the world of the Red Knight. There was already a monster blocking them. Misuzu prepares to face the monster while Kakeru and Yuka save themselves. Unfortunately, they were first confronted by one of the Black Knights named Ira. Kakeru tried to fight back with the sword to no avail. Suddenly, he remembered Misuzu's words to turn feelings into power. With his determination to protect Yuka, his strength finally emerged, which turned out to be from his one eye. Through these eyes, he can know the direction of the opponent's attack and give strength to his sword, so he can easily defeat Ira. At the same time, one of the pillar towers disappeared. It indicated that one of the Black Knights had died. The Black Knights realized that the eye had risen. After defeating Ira, Kakeru went into convulsions. Eventually, the club members took him to Misuzu's residence to be healed with the Onmyo powers. Shortly afterward, Misuzu is at the training ground with Kakeru to begin the healing process, while Yuka and Yukiko are outside and are not allowed in during the process. Not long after, Kukori joined Yuka and Yukiko. During the healing process, both Kakeru and Misuzu had to be naked. In the middle of the healing process, Kakeru is shown with someone with the same eyes as himself. Someone asked if Kakeru had given up or wanted to continue the struggle. He replied that he did not want to die and was determined to continue to protect Yuka. On the other hand, Yuka blamed herself for Kakeru's condition because she was the only one who didn't have the strength until now. Finally, she returned to wait for the healing process to complete. When peeking into the healing room, she accidentally saw Kakeru and Misuzu were not wearing clothes. However, she reassured herself that what she saw earlier was part of a normal healing process. Long story short, Kakeru's healing process is complete. They gather to go to school together. On the way, Misuzu tells Yukiko and Kukori about Kakeru's eyes and that his eyes are Ion's eyes that can see the future. After that, Yukiko said that in ancient times, a king named Verard also had Ion eyes. However, the king was deceived by the witch and ended his life. Instantly, Misuzu linked the figure in Kakeru's dream to Verard, and the witch was Lisette. After that, Yukiko proposes to go out of town because it's possible that they won't be transported to the Red Knight world again. Takahisa said he had seen the boundary of the Red Knight world after hearing the conversation. Meanwhile, Yuka expresses her sadness at seeing Kakeru get along with Misuzu. Then she asked Kakeru to kiss her, but he refused. Suddenly, they turned to the Red Knight world. When switching to the Red Knight world, they initially 5 people. Now, there are only 4 people, and Yuka disappeared. The 4 of them were instantly confronted and then attacked by the pillar monsters. Unexpectedly, Kukori released her power in the form of an iron chain that came out of her back that could slash the enemy. Her power managed to injure one of the Black Knights. Soon afterward, Takahisa went to the other club members who had finished fighting. After that, they immediately looked for Yuka and brought her a doll that didn't fall when she was in the school health unit. Yukiko says that maybe Yuka is alive because she doesn't smell blood. Then they split up to look for Yuka's whereabouts. A few moments later, Misuzu realized the position of the Black Moon was getting closer to the Earth. Meanwhile, Yukiko managed to find Yuka after previously finding several small injured monsters. On the other hand, the Black Knight leader Avarisha ordered Superbia and Nvidia to destroy Ayon's eyes in the fragments. Meanwhile, the crystal tower that was confiningly set slowly began to crack. Shortly after that, Nvidia attacks Kakeru and Takahisa. Then came Misuzu, who wanted to help them, but at that moment, Superbia appeared, and finally, Misuzu fought against her. Afterward, Takahisa tried to counterattack Nvidia but failed. As a result, Kakeru managed to attack her with the help of his Ayan Eye power. In every successful attack, both Takahisa and Kakeru will be injured. Then, Yukiko and Kukori came to their aid. Unfortunately, Nvidia was not easily defeated, even though it was surrounded by 5 people at that time. She brought Kakeru to be destroyed. Yuka, who was not far from that place, intended to save Kakeru, which caused the power within her to rise. A very bright light radiated from her body and caused Nvidia's power to disappear and then be destroyed. From that, it was concluded that Yuka's true strength was to eliminate the power of others. The next day, all the club members rested at Misuzu's house and didn't go to school that day. Misuzu questions the fragment the Black Knight mentioned because she still doesn't understand it. At the same time, Kakeru approached Kukori, who was preparing a drink, and ordered her to take care of Yuka. Actually, Kukori wanted to tell him something. I don't remember my past, but he had already left. Meanwhile, Takahisa approached Yukiko, who was sitting alone. She tells him about her guilt for hurting Kakeru during yesterday's fight. He said it was natural during a fight, but she still felt guilty about it. After meeting Kukori, Kakeru went to Misuzu to talk about the Red Knight and the Black Knight. Misuzu explained that Superbia she faced last night was actually Masao Kusakabe, who was her ancestor. Shortly afterward, she wanted to give the power of the Kusakabe family to Kakeru on the condition that he had to drink her blood. Yuka, who accidentally saw the incident, misunderstood. While in class the next day, Shiori suddenly asked permission to go to the infirmary. On the way, she attacked a bird that was watching her. On the other hand, Takahisa was about to go to school to meet Saiko. Before he left, Yukiko approached him and thanked him for comforting her. At the same time, Misuzu and Kukori went outside to look for Yukiko, because her departure from Misuzu's house was not known by the other friends. While leaving with Kukori, Misuzu realized that there was something Kukori wanted to tell Kakeru. She offered to help Kukori deliver the message to him. Meanwhile, Kakeru and Yuka were cleaning the windows of Misuzu's house. At that place, Yuka poured out her heart, telling him that he had changed, and asked him to care only for her. Just then, suddenly, a voice came from the second floor. He rushed to the second floor to check. After being on the second floor, Kakeru saw Shiori there. She claimed to be the messenger from Index because he had raised a demon. On the other hand, Takahisa and Yukiko, who were still at school, headed to the infirmary to meet Saiko. Arriving there, they were both shocked by her condition, which was already very pathetic, namely hanging and being stabbed by Superbia. They were caught off guard by crying over Saiko while Superbia was preparing to attack from behind. Back at Misuzu's house, Shiori tests Kakeru by attacking him. She said that he had developed quite well because he was their hope. At the same time, Yukiko managed to withstand Superbia's attack on Takahisa. He was furious and attacked Superbia with the power of fire, which instantly made her leave, and she was chased by him. Seeing this, Yukiko intends to follow him. While leaving, Yukiko met Misuzu and Kukori, who were looking for her. They were both a little surprised by her condition. At the same time, Takahisa fights Superbia in the middle of the city and causes panic because they are in the real world. On the other hand, Superbia avoided and met Kakeru because the sacrifice of the Black Knight who had died first made the other Black Knights able to switch to 2 worlds. Not long after, Yukiko told Misuzu and Kukori what had just happened. The 3 of them then followed Takahisa, and it turned out that there was already Kakeru who was dealing with Superbia. Suddenly, another Black Knight appeared to attack Kakeru. After that, Superbia transforms into Masao. As a result, Misuzu is faced with Masao, who is still in the same clan as her, and she looks overwhelmed by Masao's immense energy. On the other hand, Shiori is seen meeting Yuka and telling her that Kakeru is fighting Superbia out there. Hearing this, Yuka intends to follow him, but Shiori prevents her and convinces her that Kakeru will be able to handle it alone. In the middle of the city, Yukiko tries to calm Takehisa, who is destroying the city because he still hasn't accepted what happened to Saiko. He feels that he has been destroyed, then asks her to kill him. On the other hand, Kakeru finally managed to defeat the Black Knight who attacked him. Afterward, he immediately helped Misuzu because her sword had been destroyed by Masao. As a result, he will fight Masao, but she realizes that Kakeru has drunk Kusakabe's blood. Because of that, she decided to withdraw from the fight. Not long after, all of the members gathered again at Misuzu's house. Shiori explains that she is an envoy from the Ministry of Magic to seal evil magics and feel the evil aura and the rise of demons in this world. Shiori is also a magus. She explains that the Black Knights are actually magus, who are also emissaries of the Ministry of Magic, which means they are also defenders of the truth. Suddenly it surprised Kakeru. Shiori explained all the phenomena in more detail, that the Black Knight was on the right side. In this world, 7 fragments originate from the Stone of Nothingness brought by 7 people with tremendous power: Shiori, Yuka, Misuzu, Yukiko, Takehisa, Kakeru, and the witch confined in a crystal tower, Lisette. It is known, Lisette's identity is actually Liselot. Due to her being locked up, she lost her memory. All the fragments gathered because Liselot wanted to open the door of hell, namely the black moon they had seen. With the 7 fragments, the gates of hell can be opened. Even though Takehisa has died, Kakeru's existence as the owner of Ayan's Eyes allows it to be done. It all started with Liselot, a witch, falling in love with a king named Verard. But due to the civil war, King Verard was killed by his followers. That made Liselot angry and vowed to make her wish and King Verard comes true. To prevent her actions as a witch, the Ministry of Magic sent their guardians, namely the Black Knights, to seal Liselot. Then the Black Knights successfully sealed her in the Red Knight world. But as a result, the Black Knight turned into a monster. On the other hand, King Verard was able to rise through Kakeru's body, which was why the Black Knight wanted to kill him. However, Shiori thinks differently. She observes Kakeru and can see if Ayan's eyes on him can save the Black Knights because he is determined to protect his friends. Shiori also explained the parallel world and the forbidden technique used by the Black Knight to seal the witch, namely the Rainbow Pact. The technique splits the power of the 7 worlds to weaken them, giving rise to 7 fragments for each. All the fragments were summoned by the Red Knight world, but after that, the fragments returned to only one world. Shiori explains again that they are currently in Yuka's world, and the current Kukori is just an illusion created by Yuka for Kakeru. That was because Kukori, who was holding the fragment, had died. Then they returned to the world of the Red Knight. Yukiko, devastated by Takehisa's death, came to the Crystal Tower alone. Arriving there, she attacked Superbia and Avarisha for revenge. On the other hand, Kakeru and Shiori, who were at Misuzu's house, did not find Yukiko's whereabouts. When trying to find her, Kakeru was prevented by Yuka. Kakeru, who remains determined to save his friends, makes her faint. As a result, they were too late. Superbia managed to defeat Yukiko and took her fragment. At the same time, Shiori arrived and managed to attack Superbia, causing the fragment she was holding to fall. Then came Yuka, who immediately took the fragment. Yuka suddenly threw the fragment at Liselot, who was confined in the Crystal Tower. Instantly the crystal holding Liselot broke, and finally, she was freed. After being freed, Liselot almost injures Yuka because she attacks her to take the fragment from Yuka's hands. Shortly afterward, Avarisha sends Kakeru and Misuzu to another world to keep them away from Liselot. Not long after, Shiori joined the other Black Knights to defeat Liselot, but it wasn't easy. Suddenly, came Abraxas, who was Kukori's angel who helped them. On the other hand, Misuzu told Kakeru about the parallel world. They conclude that Yuka, Takehisa, and Yukiko, who are in another world, are still alive. The 2 of them who are now left still couldn't beat Liselot. Misuzu also said there is only one way to drastically increase their abilities, by binding the owner of Kusakabe's blood and then ritual intercourse between men and women. After that, Misuzu and Kakeru then performed the ritual. After the ritual, the way to the world of the Red Knight was opened. Not long after, Masao or Superbia appears and announces that Avarisha has died, while Shiori ended her life. Because she loves Avarisha, Masao finally destroys herself. Through the same door, Yuka suddenly appeared. When Kakeru was about to approach, she immediately stabbed him with a sword. It turns out that Yuka is Liselot's incarnation. Then she hugged him until he disappeared. As a result, Ayan's eyes are now owned by Liselot. Back to the Crystal Tower, which Liselot had just released. It turned out that what happened earlier was a vision of Kakeru's future. When she wanted to attack, suddenly, Kakeru took a sword and stabbed it into his own neck to prevent Liselot from taking Ayan's eyes. After waking up, Kakeru was already in the infirmary, accompanied by Misuzu and Yuka lying next to him. Misuzu explains that when he thrusts the sword, Yuka uses her power, so the sword disappears, and Shiori sends them to Yuka's world. But it was only temporary. Shortly after, Shiori came with Abraxas. Afterward, she said that Kukori killed her sister, and she ended her life to prevent the awakening of the witch. It is known that Kakeru in Kukori's world does not have ion eyes, but it was Kakeru in Yuka's world. Whereas Kukori in Yuka's world didn't have any fragments. Shiori told all about the fragments to Kukori because the other fragment holders were still too young. She did not think that Kukori would end her life. Hearing Shiori's story, Misuzu realized that Shiori could change dimensions. Not long after, Yuka's time of power ran out. At the same time, Kakeru, Misuzu, and Shiori headed for the roof of the school building. There were already Liselot and also Yuka, who was trapped in the crystal. Liselot tried to take Ion's eyes from Kakeru. Instantly Shiori and Abraxas attacked her. Shortly afterward, Superbia came to protect Kakeru and sealed Liselot using the power of Avarisha. However, due to Liselot's attack, Shiori and Abraxas finally died, and Shiori's fragment was handed over to Kakeru. Superbia says if Kakeru can combine Ion's eye power with Shiori's dimensional transfer power, he can trap Liselot at the boundary between dimensions. She suggested he try it, but Liselot was released from Avarisha's seal. When Liselot was about to attack Kakeru, she suddenly heard Verard's voice from the look in his eyes. Verard appealed to her to end all this, but she ignored his words and continued to attack. Instantly, Misuzu and Masao tried to block the attack using Kusakabe's power. When Liselot was careless, Kakeru approached her and activated Shiori's bound and Ion's eyes, so that she was sucked into the boundary between dimensions. As a result, Yuka was freed from the crystal cage and the Red Night ended. Long story short, Kakeru, Yuka, and Misuzu now live in another world. In that world, Takahisa and Yukiko are still alive but don't recognize them. However, the most important thing is that now they can feel peace. The moral that can be learned from this anime is that someone who looks helpless turns out to have extraordinary potential in them and is even very influential. Therefore, judging someone just by looking at the person's physical appearance is wrong.